Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new feature that Sarta is going to be presenting periodically called Community Conversations. We want to give a forum for our theater community at large to be able to come and share what's going on in their neck of the woods with some of the amazing programs that are out there. And this will be our inaugural show, and I'm so pleased to have two very good friends of Sarta here with me today, Mr. Elio Gutierrez and Mr. Richard Falcone. They're with the Sacramento BIPOC Artist Association. And welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Hey!
Applause, rounds of applause for all of that. We're so glad that you're here. I didn't think I was going to get a 2-for-1 when I first, actually a 3-for-1 possibly, when I first initiated this conversation. But it's wonderful because all of the people who are with me are on the board for the Sacramento BIPOC Artist Association. So I want to really turn it over to them. This is an opportunity for them to share what they're doing with this organization for our theater community. So Elio, Richard, which one of you would like to share first? Because I would love to hear, first off, what is the program centered around and how did this come into being?
Wow.
Now, Richard, it's like do shoot rock, paper, scissors we do here.
I know, I feel like, well, all of you answer at once, okay?
Okay.
Well, firstly, just thanks so much for having us.
Elio, we may be having some trouble with your feed, so I'm going to turn it over to Richard for a moment.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. Wow. Well, again, I think as Elio was trying to say, thanks for having us here. This is really incredible. It's so exciting to see Sarta take this new direction and addition into what they're doing, which is awesome. For the organization itself, when I was reached out to, and I think Elio and others were reached out to by Jerry Montoya, Jerry said, hey, we need to find out who we are and who the other artists of color are within Sacramento so that we can get to know each other, so we can start to advocate for each other, so we can start to help each other to achieve happiness and success in what we do as artists. And immediately I thought, yes, of course, this is great. Let's do this. And as we grew, as we proceeded forward, it was during the time, of course, and I'm sure you are aware of the We See You White American Theater manifesto that came out at that time.
Yeah.
So really for us, it was, how do we respond to this? So much discussion, so much pain and hurt from the community about that, not just here in Sacramento, but throughout.
Yeah.
So together we said, how can we help this? And for us, and Elio, I hope you will agree with this, it became, and Jerry actually brought it forward. He said, we want to be a council. We want to be able to offer ourselves and our services to the greater Sacramento region, not blame anyone for what's gone on in the past, but to help organizations as they navigate through, as they work through their equity, diversity, inclusion efforts, so that they can be. Along the same lines was to offer what I'm calling now brave spaces. It kind of changed away from the whole idea of safe spaces.
Yes.
Because everybody's got their own idea of what safe is, and some people just talking.
Yeah.
But to offer up brave spaces for our arts community of color to come together and to be able to share openly, bravely, without judgment of what's going on with them. We haven't felt that before. And now, I mean, you think about what Sarta is doing now, you think about what others are doing now with opening these forums, opening these dialogues, letting people talk about this. So I'm so proud to have Elio and Jacob, Barry, and the 81 or what might be now 90 members that we have board, and continue to help our community thrive. And that has a lot of different vision, a lot of different faces as to what Thrive is. So I don't know, long-winded, but Elio, did that kind of cover everything?
I think that was excellent, and I think the biggest part is that it's still in development. It's still something that we're continuing to kind of come together, put our minds together, and figure out what it is that is needed. But ultimately, it's establishing a community and a voice. So really excited to be here.
Yeah, and establishing that community. He's right on the money. That's what it is. So, Iris, thank you for opening up to us.
Absolutely. When we thought about doing these broadcasts on Twitch and then recording them, by the way, this will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel for Sarta. So people, you'll get that link so you can send people there to hear what you all have shared. So it's not just disappearing, it's going to be held out for a while there. I really watched what's been going on in the last couple of years too, because, as I was speaking with Elio and his husband Jacob, they joined us for our very last Ellie Awards, which had to be virtual because the pandemic had, shut everything down. And then we had the summer of social unrest. That was along with that, with George Floyd and all the other things that were going on. Black Lives Matter, protests were happening. There were so many areas where, our own pandemic was being politicized so that, there was hate toward Asian communities. And it was just so much that was divisive that we really had to refocus and look at how can we not only be inclusive, but help others with this concept of inclusion, because everybody, we say have a place on the table, but everybody has a place on the stage. So, how do we allow that to happen? At which point Elio reached out to me to tell me about the Sacramento BIPOC Artist Association. And I went, as soon as we started doing this, I said, you're coming on, you've got to talk about this. We've got to share what's going on. So Elio and I had a long conversation not too long ago. You talked a little bit about the need for this group. Tell us who's part of this. What theater groups, workshops, kinds of organizations are part of this organization?
Well,
So
go ahead,
yeah,
Elio.
go ahead, Rick. Well, let me know if I start cutting off, because that also is important. But I think that the idea of using Sacramento artists of color and using the word artist was really to be incredibly inclusive, because I think that a lot of us, I think Iris, you and I, Richard, you and I, we met through theater, right? And so I think as performers in that regard, but the thing is, is for this, and that is meant to encompass not just theater, but music, visual artists, yes, singers and actors as well, but technicians, just anything that is incorporated in it's through art, emotion through art. So I think that it's open to everybody, but the emphasis on the perspective of color, right, is really kind of where it kind of becomes very specific, right? We really want to make sure that we're bringing in individuals that have this perspective and that need this community, not because of being exclusive, but of creating an opportunity to have a place where we can talk about some very serious things that are happening within the community, right? And so recognize that there's a lot of power in our allyship, right? But I think that there's a necessity, and until to have these safe, brave spaces, and until we kind of meet our goals, right? I think that we need this type of organization. Ultimately, the goal would be great to no longer need to exist, right? But that's down.
Absolutely.
We're working towards it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Richard, please feel free to add more to that as you need.
Oh, I think you covered it quite well, because Iris, again, it's really interesting, and I'm just going to put it out there. We are as inclusive as we possibly can with artists of color. Now, don't get me wrong. Though we love our allies in white American theater and white American Eurocentric arts, we're not letting them into our group yet. And only because of the fact that we want to still offer a space that is strictly for we artists of color, to help them to feel that there are people like them that are here. Because as much as I shudder to say it, there has been so much oppression, whether explicit or implicit oppression over the decades, that some people feel uncomfortable still, even though we're talking about inclusivity.
Because I hear what you're saying on that. Yes, absolutely.
I want to still be able to work as an artist, but if I say something that might offend somebody else, then maybe I won't get that job because of it. So there's still fear, there's still concern, there's still trepidation. So that's why, in creating this, to be able to offer the place for our artists to heal by being able to have those discussions, to empower them to openly have those discussions with their Eurocentric arts directors or executive directors or art galleries or whoever, to be able to feel empowered to have those discussions without fear of reprisal or losing a job to, in any way, shape, or form. So, like I said, we love our allies, but for the most part, from the group's perspective, we stay exclusive. And the person, and now, if somebody comes along because, hey, I'm a light-skinned Latino, you come to me and you look at me, you're going to say, I don't know, you sure he's Latino? But if I self-identify, hey, you're in. So we let the people self-identify into us. We don't make that call. We let our membership make that decision.
That's a very honoring position to be in too, because, as we know, society is all about doing the outward labeling. They look at you and decide what you are and who you are, and, therefore how I'm going to treat you and feel about you. So having it so that people can self-identify, because there's much more, there's so many more layers. You're not just a person of color, you're a female person of color, you could be a trans person of color, you could be, an artist that's doing something that's not in the typical vein of this group of artistry. And when you were talking about, having the allies, but not having them a part of it, and that does create a safe space, because sometimes people feel like that while they may be allies, they are also gatekeepers. And that gatekeeping can be very uncomfortable, and you don't have the honest conversations you may want to have with them present. So yeah, and it's not like I'm saying we're talking behind anybody's back, but some of the pains that are shared but with artists of color may not be as understood or appreciated, and therefore not talked about in mixed groups of folks. So thank you for creating that. And I appreciate so much you're saying brave space, because we've had those conversations, in my spaces where I am too, and moving from that idea of a safe space to a brave space. Can you find your voice? And helping them find their voice is so important. So that's amazing. Let me see what else I've got written down here. Go ahead and add something else, Elio. Go ahead.
That's the other element to this that I think that Richard is gonna jump on next too. That the idea too is to not just empower, bring community together and empower them, but also as a position, as a council, as a community, to be able to then start advocating, right? Because I think that the biggest thing about these movements that we've had
Uh-oh. Elio, we've gotten you lost in the translation here.
He's still going, though.
He's still going.
Across the U.S., right, in terms of that, well, across some of inclusive, have I lost you all?
Yeah, you lost us for a moment there.
Going?
Sorry.
So sorry. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now. Yes.
Okay. I was just going to add advocacy, right? Because I think that that is something that's also missing when it comes to the work that we're trying to do. Establish the community, create the brave space, but then also create an opportunity to make change. And I think that part is as important to the work that we're doing and the movements that we're seeing across the U.S.
Okay. All right. So, gentlemen, talk to me a little bit about who some of these folks are, whether they're larger organizations or individuals that have come to share, that are some of the artists within the group.
Well, I many of them, and this is the interesting part, many of them I never even knew about until we formed this organization. And that was Gary's real impotence for starting was so that we could know each. Many, to my understanding, and Elio, you can correct me if I'm wrong, are individual artists. But they work for as artists for a school or a teaching artist for an arts organization or whatever that might be. They're doing their art and their work in a way that is able to sustain them not only in their art but also financially. However, it's interesting because they need I'm just going to say, sometimes they need a place to vent. Okay, sometimes they need a place to vent. But I remember when, this was with COVID and everything, and we've had places where you can meet in person and places where you can meet virtually and these kind of things like this. Me for the first time in saying, my people, good to see y'all here, and just enjoyed being able to meet them and talk to them and hear what they're doing. And we didn't focus on the pain, we focused on the joy, which was just an amazing experience. Joy of being an artist, the joy of being a theater person, a visual artist, a poet, or whatever kind of things like that. What incredible blessing just to be able to be amongst like-minded folks who just want to create. But to that end, there were also some who were writers or backstage folks, or I remember talking to one artist who's a podcaster, and she said, "Richard, I know myself." I said, "Of course you're an artist." that's podcasting. That's an art.
Absolutely. And it's amazing growing art form, the podcast world. And, people really do need to appreciate the work that goes into that too. That's writing and creating and, producing all of that, sometimes all by yourself in your little, closet or wherever you're working from. It's the creativity of how people get their art into the world is absolutely fascinating to hear about. So again, this is why I'm like, no, I want to have these people come on and talk about the amazing things that they're doing, because I know there's so much happening out there that we just don't get a chance to filter it. And in a time when we hear about all the possible negative things that are going on, and there's plenty of those, I want to see some of the positives. I want particularly people of color to hear about good news that is going on, positive things that are happening, creative outlets that folks have. So, and I know that we've got actors and dancers and, all kinds of things in there. It's great to hear that you've got some visual artists and other folks coming in too. This is brilliant.
I think the great thing too that we've learned about, this time in the pandemic is that we really reach really widely. So our second event was this virtual event, bringing artists that were like literally calling in from like New York and Chicago, people of color that were focusing on their journey and their trajectory, the success that they found, and just imparting their stories to our group. So I think that was also kind of a benefit of the pandemic, right? So, but the opportunity to really kind of connect is a little bit much more. It's more available than we think, and it's definitely been one positive from this place that we're in still.
Yeah.
Indeed, I remember that webinar, broadcast in there, and man, I tell you, it was just so fascinating. I got to tell you, one of the theater art on there, and I know even talked about how, at times, because of the roles she played, that she didn't feel Asian enough, kind of thing like that, because of the way maybe something might have been written. And I can tell you, even with my own organization, sometimes do I feel Latino enough, for the things that I'm doing, and so knowing that there are other people who feel the way that you do, that share in your view of yourself and what you may not be the best at, or may not be good enough for, or may not, should not, to be able to say that you are.
And that's sometimes the message that a lot of people, young and old, don't hear enough, is that you know what, you're good enough. You're doing great, as a matter of fact. So what are the age ranges? Now, we've talked about that a little bit. What are the age ranges of the artists that are part of this?
Wow.
It's wide.
But based on what I've seen, I'm seeing 18 and 19-year-olds in there, and I'm seeing people as old as I am at 64.
Well, yep. That's wonderful, because the multi-generation group will bring a lot of different perspectives to it too. And, this is one of the reasons where, when Sarta was talking about wanting to do something like this, I brought up this particular platform and I went, have you guys seen this? And let's face it, if you're not a gamer, you may not have seen this before, but there are cooking shows on here and there's news shows on here. And I went, well, the theater community can use this. Hang on, we need to get on here so that we can reach a broader audience. And that's what I hear you're doing, is reaching a much broader audience with your message. So how can people get involved with you guys?
You can find us on Facebook there, as you said, the Sacramento BIPOC Artists page that we have there. Elio, I believe the website is now up in public, isn't it?
Oh,
Yes, it is, and we're currently working on a little bit of a transition in terms of a more I guess accessible and dynamic kind of platform too. So TBA on another on a more kind of streamlined opportunity to do it. But I think that right now those are our biggest kind of connectors to the community. But like always, we're trying to keep up with the times and what the chillins are doing.
Yes, I know, and I love this being on Twitch. Yeah, my grandson's like, Grandpa, you really got to get on Twitch. I'm not going to watch you if you're not on Twitch, right? So, but you know, embracing the technology, embracing with young people, and I'm steering away from your question because, like, for example, for the current show that I'm involved in, I brought in a whole bunch of new young social media folks, and they're putting us on TikTok. Yeah, what? And the older publicity marketing people are going, what? I don't know.
You're on the TikTok? What?
You know, and I'm saying, yes, we got to get on Twitch, and we got, you know, but anyway, I would be happy, Iris, and for the rest of you folks there at Sarta, to give out my personal information. I carry it, you know, and I carry my phone with me all the time, and I try to respond to everybody that I can. So if anybody wants to directly reach out, you know, I'll put it out there, and you're welcome to post it. But it's Richard Falcone, all one word, RICHARD, like Frank, AFCON at ATT.net. And I'll also even give you my phone number.
Oh, no, not here. Because what I'm going to offer to do is please send that to me, sarta@sarta.com, and just reference this Twitch feed. I'm going to make sure, since I happen to be the one that does newsletters, that it ends up in the newsletter. And it will also end up on our Thursday night Twitch feed, because every Thursday night I do This Week at the Theater. And, you know, I do a slideshow, and I can feature your group with all the information, so we can have your Facebook page information and your website information there. I hesitate to share that kind of information here because this is a big public forum, and you know, I want to maintain some safety and, you know, distance for you all too. So, but I will absolutely post all that for you. Absolutely.
I appreciate it. I guess, because I'm a community organizer for United Latinos. I'm part of the Sacramento Police Review Commission.
Oh, okay.
I'm artist of color. I'm, you know, so much out there, and so much of my information is already out there, and it's like, yeah, I don't. But I will send that over to you, Iris.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So what's coming up that people might want to look out for? Are you going to have some more webinars coming up pretty soon? Or are you, since we've moved sort of away from wearing masks, are there any in-person gatherings that you all are planning?
Yes and yes.
Yeah, okay.
As Elio has pointed out, we're trying to shift over. I know he said, you know, coming soon. We're working on it, but there's other social media platforms like Mighty Networks, you know, that we might, you know, be popping on here pretty soon. But yeah, we've just got to do it. And I guess for me personally, I mean, I've got shows going on. Elio has shows going on. Other members and the officers of this wonderful organization have the shows that are going on. And sometimes we lose time, and it's not always our friend, but we still want to be there for the community. So I would say, for those of you that are listening today, hold us accountable, be patient with us. We're growing too, but we want to hear from you, and we want to offer our counsel in any way that we possibly can.
Brilliant. I know we have some larger art forums that go on in town, and one of them, I've just been getting emails from it too because I'm on their mailing list, is the Thursday night art mixes over at Crocker Art Gallery.
Mhm.
And I didn't know if you had any plans on, being there, at least promoting a table for, artists of color who come through there. I know Rocker has made a lot more moves toward inclusion themselves. And as one of our major, places to see and show and participate in live art events, were you looking at being part of any of those, or, is that connection happening yet?
Has not happened yet, but I appreciate the tip on that.
Oh, there you go.
Absolutely. Anywhere we can look to expand, that's what organizing is all about. And that's what we're trying to do. Let's organize this as artists and help to, uplift each other.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and I did want to mention too. Wait, am I coming in clear again?
You're coming in loud and clear, dear. Go ahead.
All right, just making sure that I think one of the greatest things that I am seeing about kind of bringing the community, like Richard was saying, is this not just the communication of what everybody's doing in their own individual ways, but kind of this kind of message, right? That we're getting a little bit more in tune with, that there really is this hunger for community. So one of the things that we're planning on developing and kind of in the kind of organizing phases of it is maybe how do we link artists together? So some of the ideas that we're throwing around is a mentorship program in terms of kind of pairing artists with specific artists that maybe are either starting off or a little bit more advanced in their careers. So we have a little bit of a conversation going on that. We are going to continue our webinar kind of series, but we're hoping that we're going to be able to do things more in person. So that'll be great. And so look forward to that as well. So we tend to kind of try and advertise and kind of shoot out what it is, who are the speakers ahead of time, so people can be interested. And of course, we always try to target multiple different aspects of art so that it's kind of catered in that direction for now. But those are just a couple of things that kind of came to mind about like, hey, coming soon. Yeah, look out for that.
Okay. Is that listed on your website on like a community calendar page or on the Facebook feed in a community calendar? So if somebody, if I told somebody, oh, there's this great organization, go check it out, they could see some of the upcoming events there?
We've been posting it on the Facebook.
Okay.
But the idea is that we want something that's a little bit more streamlined. And so that's kind of our movement, because especially for this kind of program, if we're going to try and do a mentorship kind of program, we're just exploring a couple options that we have to make it a little bit more streamlined. So TBA. Okay. For now, definitely keep on the website and reach out to Richard or myself. And I think that's going to kind of connect you most immediately.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. All right. Good to know. Also good to know. Is there anything, let me see, I'm looking at my questions that I have for you. Oh, we've gotten that. In your vision for this organization, where do you see yourselves in 3 to 5 years? What are your plans for the future? Think big. Go for it.
I love this question. I think my biggest, and this has, always been my vision in terms of how do we continue to diversify the arts and increase representation in leadership in the arts, right? And I think the only way to do that is to continue to impact and impress upon younger generations that this is not only their fight, but that they have a place to do it, that they have a platform to stand on, they have shoulders to be on, right? And I think that for me, the biggest aspect is developing some sort of almost, for those that are interested, a toolkit, right? Maybe like, specifically for theaters or organizations that are looking to really be effective in their initiatives for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Here's how you do it, right? I would love to be able to create that for folks that are truly interested and invested in it, because I think that does create the opportunities then for people to rise up into leadership and have that representation, make that more systemic change. But also, the teaching aspect, right? Being able to continue to inspire artists to pursue and their dreams and success in their dreams, because I think that we still have a ways to go in really viewing artistry as a true in many ways, not only as a profession, but one that we can really be established and make the kind of type of lifestyle life that we want. So to me, that is the bigger pillar that I always kind of look at, which is like, how do we continue to pass on this torch, but then also how to and that's going to be one thing that we do, but also something that can really be effective and utilized in some of the organizations that really want to take this seriously.
Brilliant. Okay. Richard, did you have more to add to that?
I like to dream big. 3 to 5 years. I would love for us. I mean, for example, I know we take somebody like Celebration Arts, they've got a beautiful space there, but I know they struggle financially. We lost one of the only Filipino arts companies, again, because of sustainability. We struggle as artists of color to have a home and to be sustainable in what we do. I want a home for us. Right. We can call ours, that can thrive, that if I have an artist that says, I've got this concept for something I want to do, go do it. You got a spot here. And to provide that home for all of us, so we don't have to stay separated, so we don't have to fight for and I'm just going to say it, I'm going to probably upset a few of my good friends at the Office of Arts and Culture, but equitable distribution of funding for arts organizations to be competitive with their white American counterparts.
Yep.
I've too many grant applications that are inequitable. I've seen too many processes that are inequitable. We need to be able, if we really truly want to diversify and be inclusive in this as an arts mecca that people will come to, as a destination city, that I've had mayor after mayor after mayor talk about this becoming a destination city.
Right.
We continue to fund arts organizations of color at a 10 to 12% rate of the rest of the city.
Yes, agreed. That has been something that I have noted for a while as, a past owner of and curator of art gallery for artists of color, specifically African American artists in town for about 3 years. There was little to no process for us to get the kind of support that we saw other pop-up gallery spaces. All of a sudden they had amazing things, and we were struggling just to pay the monthly rent and keep artists in our building, even though we were having occasions to have artists in and showcase their work and things like that. And yeah, I know that's part of that gatekeeping I mentioned earlier, is how challenging is it just to apply for some of these things, and can we give assistance in getting through that sometimes onerous task of just asking for the money, and then when you dot all the I's and cross all the T's, you still don't get it. So can we as a community finance some of our own artists in that way, so that we're not having to be beholden to a greater community of possible gatekeepers? Yeah.
Well, and can we get to a point where we can actually hold people accountable, right? If we have the membership, the representation in 3 to 5 years, I think that it's very likely and possible that we can be in a place where we can say, hey, you know what, we see what your efforts are, so-and-so organization, and we recognize that, and therefore, hey, artists, hey, community that we have, let's go here, let's support, let's be in this space, and hey, organization over here that has a long way to go. Let's not oust you. Let's lend a hand. Let's have that conversation.
Right.
And let's move towards that. But also, if you're not going to put in the work, then let's be able to say, okay, hey, community, we're not safe there, right? Like an opportunity for folks to really, therefore, then hopefully start moving in directions that are a little bit more effective, because I think that we're seeing too much, and we saw now after all of these movements that communities, organizations, got somewhere, they put their statements out there and whatnot. That was it, right? And the momentum is kind of gone. And so I think that in 3 to 5 years, as we continue to grow and gain more people and people in all across artists, and levels and of leadership, that I think we'll get to a point where we will be able to then look at these organizations and advocate, the way we want to. So I'm really hopeful that this reaches people and kind of continues to inspire them to kind of, hey, you have a place here, and we dream big just like you. So let's go do stuff.
Excellent. I know the education community is a huge player in this, and there's a lot of young people out there coming up through many of the ranks for the arts and music and programs like that are still in schools. Are you all outreaching to those programs also?
Yes, I know. Elio is as well, and that's one of the things that I want, not just through Artists of Color, but just personally to grow, because as a teaching artist, as someone who's worked, last year I worked with the Healthy Hearts and Minds group through Twin Rivers, and it was an amazing experience, especially with children were impacted by COVID in there. What I'm seeing is on the education opportunity to grow our community. I'm talking about to become teaching artists, to learn how to do that, to learn how to become sustainable in the area of education by passing on your skills to young people, teenagers, even adults and seniors. So there's ways to go about this, because I'm not seeing them around those tables as teaching artists very much. And we need to modify that. So the opportunity there, we just now have to teach and upskill our artist community how to go for that and how to feel like, si se puede, yes, you can. Yes, we can, as Obama said, and to have that hope. Because much like King said, much like Chavez said, it may not happen in our lifetime, but we must keep moving forward. And as Elio said, that next generation of folks coming up and empowering them to take the baton from us and to build and to continue and to grow and to thrive and to make change.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of where I agree with this. In the schools, are we presenting this to young people as an option, not just as an extra, but as an option? Can you follow this as a passion? So many times the arts are downplayed to our young people. Well, you won't make any money at it, so what else are you going to do? But this is how my heart grows. This is how I'm expressing myself, and that self-expression is so important for them. So it makes me feel good to hear you doing that. Yeah.
Well, and there's such a huge, different factors to that. But I do think that in communities of color, right, I know if I had told my mother I wanted to be an actor, she would have done as much as she could. But I think that ultimately the conversation comes back to the idea of like, well, we are here. My family, we are immigrants. I was born in Mexico, and we went through our process or whatnot. But ultimately, the motivation was stability, right? You need to find that, and there was no way of kind of telling my family that I was going to find that in artistry. right? And so I think that there's a couple of different layers to this that are important and that I see again kind of as a really hopeful, hopefully an opportunity, right, to continue to create dialogues where we can have that type of conversation and continue to showcase the success of our folks, because there are some amazing people that we weren't even aware of, was what you were saying, locally. And the thing is that that's what we hear all the time. Oh, well, where are the people of color? We were gonna do this show, but there's no brown people. Where are they? And it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, right. It's like they're all. I know where they are. How are you? And maybe that's just a limitation of where they're looking or how they feel like they're getting the word out. And we can help them with that. I think your organization for sure, along with Sarta, can help them with that process. It's like, there's a lot of people out there. If you let them know you're doing an event, you got to tell people.
That, and with the younger generations, just to go back to what you were saying, Iris, and also if we can figure out a way of communicating, right, to those families and those individuals that are kind of very much, about the stability and, can we do this a little bit more? Can we create a safety and an awareness and provide the knowledge and know-how that this actually can work, right? And so I think that's important to acknowledge too. So I think we can all do a better job of getting into the schools and figuring out how to do that more effectively, and schools in their own way, but they're doing their best. But I know that there are places that need a lot more support.
Sure.
And so we got to figure out how to do that.
Sure. All right. Well, gentlemen, we have about 5 more minutes left for our time together. And I just wanted to ask, was there anything else that you wanted to share with us or let us know that's like coming up maybe right away that people could, webinar in with or be a part of? Weather's getting better. Maybe we can all actually get together outside somewhere soon. That would be amazing.
Well, not on the immediate front for Artists of Color, like Elio says. We're in transition we're not in transition. We're actually in the growing stages, especially on this mentorship program. But would it not be a cool thing? Iris, you just said the weather's getting better, mask mandates are down. Let's do a Sarta gathering. Let's bring all the artists together outside some wonderful festival. Wouldn't it be cool for all of us to collaborate on something of art form that I'm sure maybe we can get a little funding from the city for, but the proceeds of it can go to, again, to artists, strictly for the artists, who come to perform, who come to sing, who come to show their crafts, who come to show whatever like that. That would be just so cool. A multi-generational, multicultural festival. Not a Filipino festival, Mexican festival, Black festival, white festival, but all of us together
that would be good.
In one place.
That would be epic. Absolutely epic. So now you've got us all 3 on the hook for planning this thing. So we will talk. We will talk further. We're gonna make this happen. I would love to see something like that happen, because now that Sarta is not doing the Ellie's anymore, we are looking for other big community events that we can do. And this might be something that we could, toss our proverbial hats in the ring and assist with. I would love to be a part of something like that. So
go one step further for the city council people that are out there. You got that beautiful brand new Safe Credit Union community theater. Let us all in there for a weekend. We'll put on a show for you.
Right? I know. Put your money where our mouths are. Let us come and do it for you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we need to start gently petitioning in that direction so that people can know. And all of you out there who may be listening to this or may see this later, start nudging. You're good nudgers. Nudge. Go in, ask the questions. We are part of the community. Why can't we use these spaces? Why aren't we having these types of events? People are really hungry for things right now. Really, really hungry. We've been cooped up for a couple of years now. So this might be the prime ripe time to make this happen. So, okay, now we're committed, gentlemen. We have to do it. We have to do it now. We have to do it.
How exciting. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at this time, I'm going to check in with my wonderful Sarta volunteer and find out, have we been getting any questions in or anything like that? I don't want to let you guys go without having the community have a chance to check in with us. You can go ahead, if you are out there on Twitch, type into the chat and our volunteer will relay those questions to us or those comments to us. If not right now, you can let us know at another time. As I said earlier, this recording is going to be uploaded to Sarta's YouTube page, so you can go back and look at it again, and you all can share it with your constituency also. I would really, really love to have others come on and share their perspectives. This is our community corner, so I want more people from the community to come and share. And I want to take this time to thank you, Richard Falcone. Thank you, Elio Gutierrez. Thank you, Jacob, for driving. And, and thank you, my Sarta volunteer, for hosting us today on Twitch. I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you. No, thanks so much for having us, Iris. It's truly, truly been fun and an honor to be here.
Okay. Well, you know, we can always do it again when you have some other big programs to promote.
Oh, we'll be back.
You'll be okay. All right, there you go. All right.
Right,
well,
Richard?
and on that note, I'm gonna hold you to that. On that note, we'll say goodbye to everyone out there, and thank you for joining us on Community Corner. We'll be back again. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.